Hello, readers of Every Word, and welcome to Every Word 365. I'm your host, Christina Munoz-Madsen, and today we're reading Ezra 4 through 6. If Zerubbabel had allowed the short-term discouragements to deter him from his long-range determination to rebuild the temple, he never would have finished the task. But with his goal clearly in view and his faith firmly fixed on God, Zerubbabel was able to stay on target for more than 20 years. Use one of your long-range roles or goals to complete this sentence. Though I may not experience instant success in my goal of blank, with God's help, I will commit myself to be faithful a day at a time, beginning today. That is from today's My Daily Walk. Those short-term discouragements can be so hard to overcome. So I think that's a great little task and lesson for all of us to try today. I feel like this lesson is really about patience and the ability to persevere, even when the deck appears to be stacked against you. Just look at how long Zerubbabel had to wait and what he had to endure. And of course, this comes from a Got Questions link. It took Zerubbabel 2 years to rebuild the foundation of the temple. The construction was delayed by Samaritan settlers whose friendly overtures masked a hidden hostility. As a result of the opposition to the temple construction, Persia withdrew support for the project, and for 17 years the temple sat unfinished. Finally, God sent the prophets Haggai and Zechariah to encourage and support Zerubbabel, and the work on the second temple resumed. 4 years later, in 515 BC, the temple was completed and dedicated with great fanfare, and that, of course, is in Ezra 6:16. Can any of us say that we persevered for 20 plus years on something that God was asking us to do? Maybe it's not an unanswered prayer. Maybe it's the length of time God needs to work on you and or your heart. Really good to think about. And it's one of those things that it always seems to be clear when you look back. It's really hard to see it when you're in the midst of it. So hopefully you have goals and achievements that you can look back on and say God was with you the whole time, and God was maybe working on you and your character when there seemed to be failures. And in case all these temples are getting confusing, I'm offering up a good summary of all of them from gotquestions.org, because sometimes it can be confusing. So it's good to move back every now and then and think about what we're learning, historically speaking, of course. Tomorrow is Ezra 7 through 8, and just a heads up, it is a very short reading, so maybe that encourages you a little bit. Happy reading! If you haven't heard, my family and I will be hosting a tour to Greece with Travel with Friends. This will be a 10-day Footsteps of Paul trip, and you are invited to join us. After we tour Athens, we will drive southwest until we reach the Corinth Canal, which connects the Aegean Sea with the Ionian Sea. We will drive on and visit the ancient town of Corinth, where St. Paul lived and preached for 2 years. The remains of the city, which include the Agora, the marketplace, and Apollo's temple, clearly show how rich and important Corinth was in ancient times. We then travel to an ancient port where Paul disembarked and returned back to Athens. If you'd like to travel to Greece with us in 2025, just send me a message. My email is in the podcast description, or comment on this post, and I'll get you added to our VIP list. We hope to see you with us in Greece in 2025.